PodSaaS, where we're putting the SaaS back in SaaSy. Sponsored by Leader Pro, where you can book demos with target customers on demand and fill your sales pipeline instantly.
Welcome to PodSaaS. Today we have Cenk Sidar from Enquire.ai. How you doing, Cenk?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And you're coming to us from DC, right?
Yep, based in DC.
Got it. Were you born and raised in DC, or did you ended up there?
No, I actually moved to DC area in 2007 for my graduate studies. I grew up in Istanbul, Turkey, and I moved here for my graduate education.
Got it. So you moved here when you were an adult to the States?
Yeah, I was 22, 23 years old.
Interesting. Okay, we'll dive into that in a little bit. So tell us a little bit about Enquire.ai. Give us the quick elevator pitch, and then also, who's your target market here?
Sure. Enquire.ai is a knowledge management platform. We started as a marketplace. We have about 40,000 experts globally in different areas, subject matter expertise areas. And we have over 75, 80 institutional clients using the platform. Our core product is basically when you go to our platform, you ask any question related to business policy or regulation or technology, and within next 30 minutes, you get real-time insights from vetted and relevant experts.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. So before we kind of jump into, the rapid fire questions, I do have a quick question around that, right? So who do you find really realizes the most value from your platform?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, our strength is we provide real-time and on-demand human intelligence. If you are a corporation doing business in a new market, or if you're a hedge fund planning to invest in a new company, or your private equity, you are looking to acquire a company, you have questions about the industry and the technology and the company that you invest in. You go to our platform and ask the question. And most of our clients are financial institutions, private equities, hedge funds, or strategy units of large Fortune 100 companies, or of course, consulting firms, because consulting firms use our platform to generate real-time content and repackage and provide their end users. So our solution is mostly used by decision makers who need real-time, high quality, and on-demand intelligence.
Got it. Okay. So you're like a real-time GLG insights kind of deal.
Look, we are different. We are focused on written content. There are great companies doing and matching clients with experts for a phone call or like a large report. But we have a patented and much different product, which is Network Pulse. This is the the Q&A product. The way we explain it is usually a Quora meeting LinkedIn. You post a question, but your question only goes to top experts who are onboarded in our platform. And it's a paid engagement. You pay to ask a question, and experts are getting paid to answer. Mm-hmm. And you get, when you ask a question, you get minimum 5 expert insights. Okay. And there's no other company really providing that solution. There are great companies doing expert interviews on a phone call or video call. We do that as well, but we are focusing on easily scalable written content side, because we implement AI and other technologies to basically serve hundreds and thousands of questions a month and provide them much faster solution than waiting a week to talk to an expert in an area. Because imagine if you want to talk to an expert, the whole logistics of arranging that call, identifying, scheduling, and talking can take up to a week. Yeah. In our platform, it takes as fast as 35 minutes to generate a report on your specific question, and no one else in the industry does it.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So we'll dive into that, because it's a fairly niche space, and I'm curious as to how you ended up there, based on your background. But we like to do what we call a series of rapid fire questions. It's nothing too crazy, but just for us to get to know you a little bit better. So, nothing to worry about, but if you're ready to, let's do it. All right, awesome. So first question is, do you have a favorite entrepreneur?
I do. I was a big Steve Jobs fan.
Okay.
Elon Musk is growing in me, but I'm still more like Steve Jobs guy.
Got it. Any particular reason why, or anything about his story that specifically stands out for you?
I think the innovation and creativity he brought to an existing industry, and the way he kind of provided an integrated solution is what he accomplished. I think, so that's why I think he deserves the credit is given to him.
Okay. Do you have a favorite startup story?
I like the Fiscal Note story. It's a company based in the DMV area. I'm friends with the founders, and I think they did a great job. Tim Wang and Garrett Zhao. I think their story building the company from scratch is very exciting too. But of course, I've been a big fan of. I think the Uber story is very interesting, even though it brought some controversies. I love this. I love seeing the growth of Uber from a ride-sharing company to like a super app, and the early days. And I think he had some unfortunate situations, but I think Travis Kalanick is also like undervalued, like entrepreneur. And maybe his next step will be much more successful in terms of building his reputation, I will say, not the company.
Yeah, I love the Uber story too. I don't think I think the general consumer thinks that just like a ride sharing app, when in reality, it's really like a logistics company, right? Exactly. Like their goal is to get anything and everything, human beings and packages or whatever, from point A to point B the fastest, by aggregating all this stored data and then figuring it out. I don't even know if they're like actually making a profit on the ride share business. But I know that they're really focused on kind of like the logistics part. And ultimately, if they get into the autonomous vehicles, they can displace all the drivers, and then their margins like dramatically increase. It's almost like this loss leader kind of like a strategy, which is interesting. Cool. Any piece of advice that you would give like your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of having a very generalist approach. I know specialization is kind of pushed by the market and the world a lot. You need to specialize on one subject. You need to know one thing very well. But I think the world we live in requires such a multidisciplinary and holistic worldview. So I recommend all young graduates and people that are coming for advice or internship there to grow themselves in different areas. I'm a political scientist. I did study international affairs, but I educated myself about technology and recently on AI, Web3, these areas. I think the real trick is to integrate one industry with another. You need to have this multi-dimensional worldview and understand how you can implement blockchain in finance, and how to integrate XR technologies in dating app. So you need to have this like non-generalist view, especially to compete in today's complex world.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. That being said, like starting a business or starting a startup, right? Like it's challenging, to say the least. And I'm sure you've ran into certain obstacles where you feel like your back's bent against the wall. So is there any particular, quote or piece of advice, or, just like even like something that you go to that motivates you or gets you past those obstacles in like the 25th hour?
Yeah, I don't remember any, specific quote, to mention right now, but I think never give up is the motto, right? Mm-hmm. Having starting a startup and working on it have ups and downs. And, one day you may think you're never going to do it, or the next day you think you already did it, but another day something happens. So like it has a huge psychological toll on the entrepreneurs. And I love that there's a lot of discussion on mental health and, startups and entrepreneurs these days. It's a subject now is being discussed a lot because, not maybe anymore, but last 10 years, I've been seeing, kind of entrepreneurship is an amazing thing. Like I love starting companies. I'm a big believer in creating value and integrating solutions. But on the other hand, I mean, not everyone should feel like they should start a company. You know, I mean, idea is very important. I mean, 10 years ago, I saw a lot of young kids starting companies with no viable business ideas and raise a lot of money. And they had such a like inflicted worldview. And unfortunately, many of them didn't survive, you know, and the industry didn't help to that. I mean, there were crazy valuations, you know, pre-revenue companies raising 100x, 150x.
Yeah.
You know, very like, I mean, even, you know, some super small number of revenues, $1 million revenue company raising $500 million valuation. It doesn't make sense. So those things backfire at this point. So I recommend everybody, like, you know, in order to come up with innovative ideas, they should have a holistic world understanding. And when they do something, they should be super prepared and the idea should be really there. So that's a kind of the area people should think twice, 3 times, you know, before they start a company, make sure that they can be successful in their business.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's, you know, I would say like 90% of the conversations I had so far on this podcast has been like that, where they have that domain expertise and it's a holistic view of a real problem that they've already personally encountered in their role or in a business that they started or whatever it might have been before. And it's like an evolution of them trying to solve this on their own in a very manual, fragmented way, and then realizing, oh crap, I actually need to do something that streamlines this or automates this. And that ends up becoming like the core product of what they end up taking to market. So I agree 1,000%. I think that's a very different thesis nowadays than it was, 10 years ago for sure, which is, you know, but we'll see what happens with this whole metaverse and Web3 and that kind of stuff. A lot of money is now being funneled into that, even though we don't necessarily have a good grasp of it yet. So we'll see. But do you have a worse job? I know you immigrated here from you said Istanbul, Turkey, right? Any like experiences there or anything where it's like hardships or, you know, growing up or taking up like a job that you really hated that's kind of like motivates you or inspires you to kind of like, I don't want to go back to that place?
I can't say that. I always work at jobs that I like and wanted. I started my companies in a very early age, and there was like a short period of time I teamed up with a partner. The company, we kind of had a merger and acquisition, but I like it. I mean, but the funny experience is, maybe it was a fun fact that, you know, there was a brief period that I graduated from grad school and got my first full-time job. And I loved my first full-time job. It was a great experience. It was a super low pay, but it was like giving me a lot of exposure to like US and, international governments and officials. It was American Turkish Council. But there was like this period that I almost ran out of money and had to bartend at a job in a bar. And I lied to get the bartending job. I said, yeah, I know how to make drinks and everything. I had zero experience. And unfortunately, there was no smartphones I could check and how to make 7-7, how to make certain martinis and stuff. So I totally fucked that up and was the worst bartender at the club and the bar, and I think fired in 3 days nicely. But it was an interesting experience. I still make fun and yeah.
Got it. Interesting. And what would be like, you know, one piece of advice that you would give, you know, burgeoning entrepreneurs? Let's just say they have encountered a problem that they feel like is really worthwhile to solve. Obviously, when you go also, you know, build a business, you're wearing 1,000 different hats at the same time, right? And it's like, is there any kind of like skill set or advice that you would give anybody based on just your personal experience, obviously, as to like what to look out for or be prepared for that they may or may not be thinking about?
Look, I mean, if the young entrepreneur has a great idea and she or he tested the idea with his circle, I think talking to people is very important. I think if you have an idea, you need to get as much as feedback you can receive from your inner circle, family, friends, people who know about the industry. Talk to people, identify potential risk factors, how to solve those issues. Because, when you start a business, you get the same questions from day one to almost to your Series A, B, C. people ask us how we vet experts, how we make sure the experts are high quality. Most of the questions we've been facing are the same questions we faced like 4 or 5 years ago. And, talking about the certain issues and subjects, getting ideas and preparing yourself to tackle those issues prepares you for later stages. So talking to people, networking with industry leaders, unfortunately, last 2 years was very tough for everybody, right? There was minimal personal interaction, not that much networking. I know people, had this networking Zoom meetings, etc., but it's not the same thing. It's one thing to have a coffee or drink with somebody rather than having this limited 45-minute Zoom interaction. Hopefully it will change going forward. I don't want to say big words now. You never know with what we're gonna get hit. We were thinking we were done with before this variant, but I hope. I always believe in personal interaction. I believe using the time to get to know people in the same industry or in different adjacent industries to connect the dots, in different areas. And of course, I think, reading, what's happening. My personal motto is I'm trying to learn as much as possible about technologies. You mentioned Web3. So what is Web3? What is the blockchain? What are the different blockchain applications? What is DeFi? How we can integrate peer-to-peer system in our model? Because, the transition from Web2 to Web3 will be painful for many Web2 companies, that benefiting from the current ecosystem. We are a Web2 company as Enquiry AI, but I need to think now how we're going to prepare ourselves for the Web3 world so that we can be competitive next 25 years, not only next 3 years. The same logic applies to young entrepreneurs. Are you building a Web2 application? Maybe think about how you can learn about Web3 and what are the niche points you can catch in order to make yourself more competitive in the emerging ecosystem of Web3 in next 3, 5, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Got it. This all leads kind of up to my last question here before we kind of jump into the actual interview. But have you ever thought about what you want your legacy?
Oh, we didn't start the actual interview yet.
No, this is still kind of like just getting to know you. But we haven't.
Okay, great.
We'll build into it really quick here. But the idea of legacy is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs tend to think about. It doesn't have to be professional. It can even be personal, right? A lot of people's legacy they want to leave into their children. But have you thought about what that looks like for you, both either professionally or personally?
Look, I'm in the knowledge business. Or corporate vision is to provide real-time intelligence to companies and decision makers, but the expert side is very, very important too. We're basically promoting a new economy, bridging the gap, in supply and demand side. So a lot of people spend a lot of money and time for their education, say, MBA, PhD, or spending 15 years. You can be high school dropout, but you could be a specialist on a certain area. You know how to sell cars at a dealership. And now in today's world, you don't need to be in one location to earn money. And knowledge is much more important in the age of, in the era of AI. So the knowledge becomes more important because knowledge is what separates you from mundane tasks that could be easily replaceable by machine in next 25 years. So what we are trying to do is empower knowledge workers with tools that they can monetize their previous investment, work experience, education, whatever you can think of, networks, so that they can still earn income and revenues without being tied to 9-to-5 job and without being located in a single location. Let me give an example. Let's say you're a very successful McKinsey consultant, spent 10, 15 years working at the McKinsey, and you came up to a certain level, but you don't want to travel Monday to Thursday anymore. You don't want to work 80 hours a week, but you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of education, you have a lot of network. How you can use your capital, intellectual capital and personal capital to help 100 companies on a micro consulting basis, rather than getting paid by McKinsey, $400,000 a year, how you can work with like 100 companies and get $4,000 a year in your schedule and in your own, terms and conditions. You set your hourly rate and you decide. So basically, we're creating the real new economy, because gig economy was mostly, hey, I'm a translator, I'm a coder, I'm a designer, I'm a video editor. Great, those jobs are amazing. And those jobs can be easily moved to remote or the metaverse, like, let's say metaverse. But we are building tools for lawyers, management consultants, strategists, and, political risk advisors, or scientists who can sell their knowledge to hedge funds thinking of investing in different areas. And we are always thinking about the future. So this is one thing that I'm very proud of. Our company, our culture is very futuristic, and we look in ways like no one was doing video calls in the sector. Everyone was doing phone calls, and we were doing video calls 3 years ago. Okay. So now we are basically announcing we basically acquire land in metaverse, and then we are thinking of why don't we schedule expert client calls in our metaverse headquarters and sandbox, so that we can have a hedge fund manager in New York City sit next to Malaysian agriculture expert before they acquire or invest in a Malaysian agriculture company. And, we all know Zoom and Slack are old technologies. They're not bringing anything new on the table. They just have a better mousetrap, So we are finding ways to create the future of the knowledge economy by bringing supply and demand together. And this is what I want to my legacy in the industry. So how we help knowledge workers to stay competitive, to work with different clients and earn their living, wherever they are, whenever they want to work, and provide them the flexibility of doing what they love, financially attractive way.
Cool. Very cool. So that's it for the rapid fire questions, but you gave some really great in-depth answers, and I'd love to know, what led to the start of Inquire.ai? Like, what was the ideation or the aha moment that you had?
Sure. Yeah. Before I started Inquire.ai, I ran a small shop providing political risk and due diligence services to investors and corporations in New York, Washington, D.C. area. It was a traditional consulting company. I worked with large technology companies at that point, even, top 3, top 4. And when they needed like regulatory advice, investing in Middle East, or when the Greek economic crisis was happening, right? Eurozone crisis. So what would be the measures to take, to prevent, or to mitigate risk for their operations, or the same thing with the Arab Spring. So my job was identify local experts and pay them for their work and mark it up and sell it to end users. Then I realized, look, I'm doing something that could be easily replaceable by technology in the next 10 years. So because there was LinkedIn, and I started using LinkedIn, because I had to go beyond my personal network. The first couple, countries I covered, I had a network in Turkey. I'm from there. My graduate school, Johns Hopkins SAIS, had some network in neighboring countries. So I was able to, utilize that network. But when someone needed help in Bhutan or Argentina, so I had to go to LinkedIn and search, hey, who is in Bhutan I know of, or my relationships there know, like, second tier relationship, that I can go and ask to hire for a report. And then my thinking was, okay, if I can do that, why the company doesn't do it? What can I build to create this direct linkage between the supply and demand, between the client and the expert, so that there's no need for me, there's no intermediary, middleman or middlewoman that can mark it up 5x, 10x, and that the clients can get, faster engagement and the experts get paid more. it was kind of cannibalizing my old business, but I saw that there was a bigger fish and there's a bigger market there. And I'm giving that example sometimes when I talk to people. Like basically, I was, of course, in a much smaller scale, like a New York limo company that created Uber itself. So so you knew that your industry gonna fail in 5 years. So why don't you become the person to start it? And I did it. So basically, we grew significantly from the first 1,000 experts to 40,000 experts. We grew from political risk to sector agnostic approach. So now we have experts in nanotechnology, blockchain, space tech, whatever you can think of, hospitality industry in Colorado. So you can think of any sub expertise. We have about 5,000 expertise data points in the system. And when I say 40,000 people, actually my data team is getting upset with me when I say, oh, we have 40,000 experts. The reason is each expert is assigned with multiple data points, multiple expertises. So we have about more than 300,000 data points and expertise sources that can answer questions. So that's why I'm a big traditional. There's something like 40,000 experts, but we have a lot of resources that can answer questions on different parts. So that's how we started solving. Basically, it was like building a better mousetrap. But of course, in time, we moved away from just connecting to size through keywords. So we invest a lot in artificial intelligence or metric algorithm, or in like NLP technology to make the system, with minimal human touch. And I can say as of today that we almost have 85% fully automated system that we don't really have human intervention unless, there's a kind of a marketplace disruption or anything like that. But we are now invested a lot is not just building a communication marketplace, that all the engagements from asking the question, vetting the expert, assessing the quality of the response, paying the expert, scheduling the video call, doing the regulatory, due diligence, due diligence on the platform. They're all automated, and every day we're building a new feature that makes our technology much more competitive in the marketplace.
Interesting. How long ago was it that you started it?
So we started in early 2017, but the first 2 years was basically building the
product
network and the product.
Okay.
And we had some initial pilot clients, but we became a real business, I would say, in mid 2018. We started, growing the network. We got some seed money to build it, and I would say last 2-3 years we made a lot of improvements in the technology, and we really took the company to very interesting levels today.
Got it. Very cool. So I mean, it makes a ton of sense to me, right? Which is like you're building a scalable solution off of a service-based business, right? So when you use that Uber analogy, for example, it's the taxi company, it's like the taxi company can only serve a local market, and it's not really scalable past that local market unless they build a technology that then removes that restriction of growth. And it's the same thing, I think, with like human capital, right? In your instance, it's like you can only serve so many companies, right? You can only do so much as a single individual. And then with technology or investing to like automation and AI removes a lot of that restriction. And now like your growth potential is basically unlimited to a certain degree, especially if you've automated like 80% of it. So
Chris, you're spot on. And I also need to talk about our API solution because it definitely, addresses what you mentioned. So we have the marketplace and the clients love the product, and we are evolving into more like a SaaS solution because we implemented an unlimited model now. So basically, as a client, you can get a license and you can ask unlimited questions in our platform And so basically we're eliminating the credit part. So in the past, it was pay as you go system. You buy, I don't know, $30,000 worth of credit and you ask, 100 questions, for that a month. So now we're eliminating it and we're making it fully unlimited, like, open buffet kind of solution. You can ask and go 20 questions. And basically we are empowering any analyst, any knowledge leader in any organization by providing them 40,000 experts at their fingertips and generate their real-time content. So this is an enterprise solution. This is part of our marketplace solution. Taking a step ahead, we basically created an API integration tool. So the API integration enables large corporations or data aggregators. And I can give you for example, Uzabase Spida is a platform in Asia that is basically a LexisNexis, Factiva, Bloomberg competitor. And basically with Spida, we integrated our solution into their platform and dashboard. And by integrating our solution, all Spida users can go and ask questions using the Spida platform without even having an account with us. So our goal is to integrate our product. And this is a great example of productification, because we took a service business, created a product, and now make it even easily integratable with other adjacent platforms. So now we're talking to multiple data aggregation trading platforms to integrate their solution. So on top of their data service, because data is amazing, but data is also commodity. So now everyone has access to the same data. It's how you visualize it or how you serve the data, right? Why LexisNexis data or Factiva data is different than, LexisNexis data. They get the company information from the same sources, or the court information or markets information. It's the same market information in New York Stock Exchange. It doesn't change. But we add in the human component. And so basically, you said one thing at the beginning, that is humanizing the technology. So by adding human intelligence on the top of technology and data, so we're creating an optimal collaboration between human and machine, so that we are enabling these platforms to have a value add for their users. And for us, it's very valuable because as we integrate with more platforms, we are reaching out to more users, and we don't need to go and individually sell to these hedge funds and private equities. And all these private equities who have, access to X trading terminal, they can ask a question about anything. On the back end, we will do the work, but on the front end, this data aggregation platform will provide the solution. So the API is a huge scaling opportunity for us. And as a third point, we created the same thing, the same product, the Q&A product for internal usage for large enterprises. So now any organization over 250, 500 employees can basically ask questions internally, because you know it better. Like if you work for a large organization, your main challenge is you don't know who knows what in different organizations. By integrating our solution, we map out every single employee's or colleagues' expertise points, and when you have a question, you post it on your Slack and our app, or so that matches with the right people, and you get the extract intelligence from these people. So these two, especially two areas, the API and the Lumina product, are game changer in technologies and products for us, because those are the ones going to take us to new highs next 12 months.
Got it. Very interesting. How large is the team right now?
So we have about 50 full-time employees globally. We have about half of them are based in the US, and half of them are based overseas. We have a large team in Istanbul, Manila, and India. And we are always looking to grow and bring talent to our company, that would help us to take it to the next level.
Got it. Very interesting. And with a marketplace, right? Like it can be somewhat challenging, you know, like you have here you have the experts, and then you have those that are paying for the experts, right? Which one was most challenging to build, and what did you build first, on the supply side or demand side? Or, you know, how do you balance that out? Because everybody's, you know, always curious about that.
No, brilliant question. Actually, is you know, as you know, every marketplace like a chicken and egg dilemma. Yeah. So we started with the supply side. Because, you know, you can go to a client and say, hey, we have experts who can answer your question if you don't have experts, right? Yeah. And you also need to have depth of expertise, you know, so you can't just have like 500 experts and claim, oh, we can answer all your questions. So that's why we started with global macro. So we got 1,000, 2,000 first experts in global macro field. So our specialization was more like, hey, what would be the regional and global implications of Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Mm-hmm. And that's easier to serve that kind of questions.
Got it.
Early days, because you can get like more global macro responses from top, you know, political risk experts. Again, even or 2,000 experts are like top level work at U.S. State Department or European, you know, like or think tanks, top universities, etc. But now, so slowly, we went from macro to micro. So now we can say, yes, we can answer your question on certain regulation in Indonesia about fishing industry, you know, because I know, or sales team knows, we have hundreds of people in Indonesia. And if you need to go get fishing experts, we may do it on a custom way. You know, we can reach out. We already do that. We're growing our network about 1,000 new experts a month.
Okay.
And even more. But now we are more confident last 2 years to say, yeah, we can onboard you as a client, and any business intelligence requirement you may have, we will fill that in 2 hours. So we can do that.
Got it. Very cool. As we kind of wrap things up here, it's been super interesting to kind of really learn about the product, because I can see a lot of value in it. But, you know, where do you imagine Enquire to be 5 years from now? And let's just say, you know, the most idealistic environment, and then, you know, maybe like a more conservative, you know, situation, you know, in terms of like what your expectations are.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we are here really building the future of knowledge economy. Yeah, I mean, so as you know, the future relies on perfect collaboration between human and machine. So I don't believe in sole technology solutions or data solutions. There should be a human component, because human judgment plays an important role. I mean, for political situation or business situation, or as long as two people are doing the business together, or two human parties interacting with each other, there's a human element, and you cannot just analyze it with the AI or the data solution. So there is always an important human element. Any solution that is missing that point is doomed to fail. So we are investing in perfect collaboration among human, data, and technology. And I think this is the future of the business. This is the future of the knowledge economy, equal business. So we are building the solutions for the future. I'm a big believer in, you know, I believe Enquire may be like a market leader in the specific area, because we are going beyond expert network. We are going beyond research companies. We are going beyond market research or on-demand consulting. We are at the top of this pyramid, and we are kind of covering all these areas. And also the CRM system, like how we can basically implement our technology internally, and how you make your employees collaborate when some people are working from home, some people are working from their office. And imagine in 5-10 years, again, I don't want to like maybe take the conversation to 10 years now, but you mentioned metaverse, how you will collaborate in metaverse. I mean, we're talking about decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, right? The DAOs will be maybe the next business organizations. DAOs are very collaborative. Web3 is the most inclusive business trend that has been happening right now. It's about collaboration. It's about including. No one knows. No one cares in Web3 what schools you went. What is your sexual orientation? What is your age? You know, I'm interested in NFTs, and most likely the other guy I'm talking is like 19-year-old, like high school dropout that is knowledgeable, and I don't care. I'm not, you know, Inquire, we hire people with certain credentials. Unfortunately, this is the market. But if you're building a Web3 initiative, you don't care. In the metaverse, you may be talking to somebody with a whole totally different background, and that's if that person is contributing to the value you're building in metaverse. She's your colleague, he's your colleague. So we are thinking of how we can exist in Web3 field, how Inquire can build the solutions for collaboration. The platforms may change, but knowledge collaboration for business will not disappear.
Yeah.
And we are here to build solutions for it. And we want to be the leading company in that specific area and go beyond the existing technologies like Slack, Zoom, Salesforce, whatever. We are building something bigger in idea. And we want to accomplish that as we get more funding, as we get more clients, and as we grow.
Got it. Perfect. On that note, thank you so much, Cenk, for joining us. I can't wait and super excited to kind of see where Inquire goes in the next few years. We'd love to have you back, maybe another like 6 months, a year from now, see where things are. But it's really great to hear your journey and your story, and just kind of like, again, the organic, I think, the organic transition from, what your personal experience is as a consultant, and then building a business that's actually scalable from that experience and productizing essentially, the processes that you went through, that you just probably ran to those bottlenecks of like realizing, okay, from a pure volume perspective, I'm not going to be able to handle this in a way that I can to create the deliverables. And so I need to build something for this. So I love that story.
Thanks, Chris, for having me, and catch you soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much.